So I'm honored to introduce you to our special guest today. This is Dr. Leah Sera. She's a PharmD, MA, and BCPS. A lot of letters. Dr. Sera received her PharmD from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy in 2010. She completed a pharmacy practice residency at Suburban Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, and a specialty residence in pain management and palliative care at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. She's a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist. She earned a master's in instructional systems development at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County in 2017. Leah is currently an associate professor in the Department of Pharmacy Practice and Science. Her clinical specialties are pain management and palliative care. Dr. Sera is the program director for the nation's first MS Masters of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics program at the School of Pharmacy. She teaches in a variety of courses within the PharmD curriculum, including the Skills-Based Abilities Lab Series, Applied Science and Therapeutics, and Immunology. She also manages a study skills elective for first-year students in the PharmD program and teaches pain, palliative care topics in several elective courses. Dr. Sera's research interests include medication management in hospice patients, implementation of inpatient palliative care pharmacy services, and educational research. Dr. Sera, Leah, thank you for joining us today on Understanding CBD.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Leah. Yeah, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. And I don't know if I told you this when we talked before, but my grandfather, Dr. Morris Wallman, actually graduated from the School of Pharmacy in 1935. So obviously I didn't follow in his footsteps, but he'd be proud of you. It just made me curious. Are you following in a tradition in your family, or was there something else that inspired you to become a doctor of pharmacy?
I'm the first pharmacist in my family, and I was interested in going to pharmacy school because I wanted to be involved in patient care, but not I didn't want to go to medical school. I loved animals, but I didn't want to go to veterinary school. And, when I kind of learned about pharmacy school, I thought this is a way for me to be involved in a different way and really be a part of the community and help people.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because palliative care is something that may not be a common term for many of us. So what can you tell us about palliative care?
So palliative care is the care for people who have often advanced diseases or conditions. Often people think of hospice when they think of palliative care, people with terminal conditions or at the end of life, but it really encompasses much more than that, and it's a very holistic form of medical care. And I was really drawn to this during my time in pharmacy school, really by taking an elective and seeing how it was very holistic and required me not only to use my knowledge of pharmacotherapy, but also my emotions and my human feelings and desire to interact with people, to care for patients, and also to work with other professionals, social workers and physicians and nurses, which you don't do in every other field in medicine.
Yeah, that's true, and that makes sense. The question I had next is, in palliative care, what role do you see medical cannabis playing in that hospice care and management of patients?
Medical cannabis can play a role in the management of symptoms. And so in palliative care, we focus on easing suffering. And often that's physical suffering, that can be emotional or spiritual suffering. And so that can involve many different tools that we have. And medical cannabis is a tool that can be used in the treatment of symptoms and conditions, many of which people experience when they have conditions like cancer or at the end of life.
I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about cannabis specifically, but what about other medicinal herbs, Leah?
Well, my focus, in teaching on this program is really to focus on cannabis as a tool, and in our program, that's really the focus, and we don't go too much into other medicinal herbs in our program.
I was just curious if you had any specific experience with anybody using them, but it sounds like it's all about just making the patient as comfortable as possible, and I'm glad that cannabis plays a role.
It's really all about the patient and just like any medication, when you're considering whether medical cannabis is appropriate for a patient, you're considering what we know about the medication, in this case, cannabis itself, what we know about the patient and their, not only the condition that you're trying to treat, but their other medical conditions as well. So it's really, and even maybe more so with cannabis, it's very individualized, personalized medicine.
Yeah, well, and it's really difficult field that you're in and you've chosen to be in, because you're dealing with really difficult times, a lot of extreme pain with your patients, and a lot of loss. How do you prevent that from coming back onto you personally, and how do you deal with that over time?
The best thing I can say is to have excellent colleagues that you can talk to. Certainly, when you have difficult patients or challenging experiences, as certainly many are, not only in palliative care but in healthcare. But certainly, my colleagues who are currently working in palliative care right now are having a very difficult time because of COVID. I'm not currently working on an inpatient palliative care team, but when I was working in hospice, being able to talk to colleagues and debrief about difficult situations and patients is what helps you to get through it. And that's the internal drive to want to connect with people and help them in that time of life.
Is that part of your schedule? Like, do you put time in to make sure that you're able to sort of decompress and let some pressure off of that valve so you don't hold too many? Is that like built into your schedule, or is it just as needed?
I don't know that it's built into my schedule, but you do learn to, I think, recognize when you need to take that time and talk to somebody, or just to take some time and check in with yourself. Make sure that you're remembering to care for yourself so that you can continue to care for others.
Hello there, Dr. Leah Sera.
Hi there.
Glad you made it back with us. If you're just tuning in now, we're talking live with Dr. Leah Sera from University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. That song was Billy Joel's Stiletto. Leah, you a Billy Joel fan?
I am a Billy Joel fan. Who's not a Billy Joel fan?
Right.
All right, there you go. I figured I couldn't go wrong with that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right, great. Well, let's get to the program. The reason why we're here today is to understand more about this medical cannabis program. So really, the first question is, why did you create the Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics course at University of Maryland?
This program was the brainchild of the dean of our pharmacy school, Dr. Natalie Eddington, and we started developing this program back in 2017, and the reason was that at the time the medical cannabis industry was expanding, rapidly, and it still is. But it was expanding rapidly, and a lot of traditional educational programs didn't include topics of things like the endocannabinoid system and cannabinoids, the pharmacology, how cannabis can be used to treat different conditions. And at the same time, there were a number of studies in the medical literature, so surveys of physicians and nurse practitioners and pharmacists and their trainees, where these individuals were saying that they needed the information, patients were asking about this, and they didn't have the training and the knowledge that they needed to interact with their patients and to provide that information to them. So those two things really kind of were the reason that we knew that there was a gap that we as a pharmacy school could address.
Yeah, so you're approaching it from the patient demand versus from the plant advocacy side.
Right. This is a program that was at the center of this program, just like all the other programs at the School of Pharmacy, is the patient and how medications can be used to improve the lives of patients.
Now, who would you say that the program is intended for?
We purposefully wanted to have a really diverse cohort of students in terms of their academic and professional backgrounds, because the industry itself is so diverse in terms of the roles and the careers and the professions that are involved in the medical cannabis industry. And so we wanted to make our program accessible to as many as possible, not just pharmacists or not just clinicians. And so we made sure that our program was accessible to even people who didn't have a clinical background or didn't even necessarily have a lot of science in their background.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing you started this program, and being a pioneer, you really had nothing to follow. You were really blazing the trail. What sort of struggles did you have getting this off the ground?
The things that some of the challenges that we faced were in the development of the curriculum itself. Because we decided early on that we wanted it to be accessible to a really broad group of students, we then had to decide, okay, well, at what level are we going to teach? We know we need to teach about things like pharmacology and pharmaceutics and medicinal chemistry, but we didn't want to require prerequisite courses or specific undergraduate degrees or anything like that. So we needed to be able to teach this science and, clinical science from the ground up and make it accessible, but also make sure that we're still providing value for those, people who are, who are clinicians or who are scientists, so that they still find the program to be challenging and valuable. So that was one challenge. Another challenge was that we did have some restrictions on what we were able to include in the curriculum. We don't include any physical handling of the plant, so our students don't touch the cannabis plant at all in our program. And we also, on the advice of the Office of the Attorney General, were unable to teach anything related to the plant cultivation or business practices related to the cannabis industry.
Okay, so that makes sense regarding the challenges that you had launching the program. Then what about once the program was already in place? Was it pretty much smooth sailing, or were there any bumps in the road that came along that you didn't anticipate?
I don't think that there was anything that we didn't anticipate. That whenever you launch a program, especially one where, as you said, we didn't have a template for what worked, it's always a matter of trying something and then making adjustments to improve it, and find out in terms of the program and the coursework and the course delivery, what works and what we might want to change or do better. Really, we had a huge amount of support, not only from our university and the Maryland institutions, higher education institutions that supported and approved the program, but from our students who've just been an incredible support, and from a lot of professionals already in the industry who have also helped us support our program and given seminars to our students. It's really been a great experience.
So out of the program, you have 15 courses there. Does a student take all 15, or is there track options that they can elect?
So students do take most of the courses are required. So it's a mostly lockstep program, meaning that students do have to take several required courses, but they do have an opportunity to choose 3 electives. Out of those, the 30 credits that they take, 9 of them are elective courses. 9 of those credits are elective courses. And so they do have an opportunity to choose a little bit about what they want to specialize in or focus on. So students may focus on therapeutics and do more of a deep dive into pathophysiology and evidence-based medicine of certain conditions and the use of cannabis to treat those conditions. Students who are more interested in the basic sciences can take elective courses in pharmacogenomics or analytical chemistry as it relates to cannabis. And then we also have electives that focus more on policy and public health.
So this is an interesting course. MSST 607, Negative Physical, Psychiatric, and Social Effects of Cannabis. Can you tell us about this course?
Yeah, this is a course that encompasses things like the importance of labeling and how to prevent, unintentional ingestions and toxicity. It encompasses things like cannabis use disorder, use in, pregnant women and babies. So we really feel like it's important to, provide, balance in our program, because just like any other medication, there are benefits and there are risks, and just like we would counsel or teach in our pharmacy school, teaching about any other medication, it's important for us to provide that balance in our cannabis curriculum as well.
Yeah, kind of putting you on the spot here, but how do you compare the risks of cannabis compared to the other risks of some other treatments that you have in the pharmacy?
I think that there are certainly, more, potentially toxic medications than cannabis, but that doesn't mean that cannabis is risk-free. I think that a lot of people do equate natural with safe, and as you guys know, that's not necessarily the case. There's also still a lot that we don't necessarily know about cannabis and about other medications as well. But it is, as I said, it's important to provide the balance and for us to treat cannabis as a pharmacotherapy tool, just like we would any other medication, that I would counsel on.
Of course, very responsible. Now, out of the courses, are there some that are more popular than others that you've noticed from the first few, for the first couple hundred students?
I would say that the courses that that have been the most popular are we have a pharmacogenomics and pharmacognosy course that's been very popular. We have an elective in state and federal cannabis laws that's been very popular, and our therapeutics courses as well.
Do you teach any of those courses?
I don't teach any of our elective courses. I teach the very first course in the program. I teach several courses in the program. So I teach the very first course, which is a survey course on the history of cannabis in the United States, and kind of up through a snapshot of present day. I teach our foundational clinical course, which introduces students to the concepts of evidence-based medicine and how to read the medical literature as it relates to medical cannabis. And then I also teach in kind of our capstone courses, which they take these one-credit courses throughout the program that are related to some of our live programs, our symposiums, and longitudinal coursework and things like that.
So here's another thing. So cannabis obviously is still considered a Schedule I substance nationally. So are all traditional student aid instruments available to help pay for the program? I'm sure people have questions about that.
Sure, yes. Students are eligible for financial aid, in the same way that they would be eligible for financial aid from any other UMB academic program.
Okay, good to know.
And how long does it take to complete the program? 2 years. And is that a full
2-year part-time master's degree?
Gotcha. So what's that schedule like? How is it offered? Is it remote? Is it on campus? And I know University of Maryland has a couple campuses. Is it where is it located?
It's a blended program. So the courses themselves are all online and asynchronous, meaning that we don't have times when people have to log on to Zoom classes, once a week or anything like that. The classes are online with a series of, assignments and due dates and things like that. But we do have students come to our campus at the University at Shady Grove, which is in Rockville, Maryland, once per semester for symposiums. And the symposiums are opportunities where students who mostly just see each other online or as a line of text or an email to get together to hear expert seminars, to do some work on group projects, and really most importantly, I think, to engage with professionals in the field, to do networking and breakout sessions, and have an opportunity to build their professional network, which in this field is just incredibly important.
Is there an accelerated program for somebody that wants to complete it, faster? Steve and I are clearly overachievers. We would have opted for that.
No, right now, the 2 years is the fastest that you'd be able to complete our program.
Okay.
Gotcha. And then even a important question: when graduates finish and they walk across the stage or whatever you're doing nowadays, what kind of jobs can they qualify for? And since this is an advanced degree program, is it something that you see your graduates going back to their career and kind of bringing this information, or tell us about the career opportunities that you're seeing?
That's definitely hands down the question that I get most about our program. You know, what does a student do with a Master of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics? And the answer is that they do a lot of different things because our students are so coming in from so many different professional areas. They're also then going back out into different areas. So we have students who are entrepreneurs and they're building businesses, with what they've learned. We have students who are entering what you might consider the more traditional medical cannabis industry or the cannabis field, going into dispensaries and processing facilities. And we also have students who are doing advocacy work, who are educators, who we actually teach instructional design as part of our program with the hope that our students will kind of pay it forward and go out and educate others, professionals and the community and patients. So we have a lot of students who are doing that. It's just really, the sky's the limit. I know it's kind of a cheesy thing to say, but our students are really trailblazers to take on a new program where there's nothing else like it in the country, and then to go out and face their own challenges to do something that they strongly believe in.
Leah, how does someone quickly apply to the program?
So they can go to our website, which is pharmacy.umaryland.edu, and look at our program's webpage, and all the information that they need to apply and the links to apply are on there. And students just need to have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree at least, in order to apply for the program. We don't require any specific prerequisite coursework other than that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Understanding CBD. Hello there, Max Sobel.
Welcome back, Steve Wallman.
And hi, Dr. Leah Sera.
Hi there.
Glad you made it back with us. And this is a fun time of the show. We get to answer some listener questions and take some calls. And I forgot to say congratulations to you on graduating your first class from the master's program this past summer. And that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We actually have one of your graduates on the phone today to say a few words to you.
Surprise, surprise.
Hello there, Jacquie.
Yes, hi there. Hey, everybody. Hi, Dr. Sera.
Hi, Jacquie.
And Jacquie Cohen Roth was actually on our show, episode 46 and episode 50.
That's right.
So welcome back, Jacquie, and congratulations to you and graduating the program. What sort of things do you have to say as a live testimonial?
Oh, my gosh, so many things.
We got 3 minutes. No.
3 minutes, okay. I know I'm famous for speaking really quickly. So let's see. In July of 2019, I had the opportunity to sit down with Dean Natalie Eddington, the Dean of the School of Pharmacy, and we spent a good deal of time. I was interviewing her for a post on my website, CannabisMD.com, and I walked out of that interview with Dr. Eddington, and I said, I need to find the time and the money to enroll in this program. And I did. It was definitely a great deal of work. I have 2 startups in the industry, so I've been in the space for a bit. CannabisMD, that's CannabisMD.com, as well as TPAD. CannabisMD is focused on filling the void of cannabis science and policy education, and TPAD is focused on ensuring equity and inclusion in the cannabis industry. Both, again, our platforms focus on education. So going through this program, my focus was to learn as much as I possibly could about the industry, about the plant. Certainly brand new to me was pharmacology, some big, fat scientific words. I had a wee bit of introduction as an undergrad period of time. I was a pre-med biology major, but it was a really fantastic program. So the program gave me everything that I'd hoped it would be. As a cannabis industry professional and entrepreneur, It was certainly challenging at times doing this through COVID, but tremendous relationships formed with my classmates. I've brought in classmates from that first class. We refer to ourselves as the guinea pig class, the class of 2021. I've had the opportunity to meet members of the following classes, 22 and 23, that are actually working with me on a couple of my projects.
Fantastic. So it sounds like a big thumbs up, and it made a difference in what you're doing at CannabisMD. And I know you have an event coming up. Do you want to mention something about that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that opportunity. Actually, next Saturday, September 25th, it's hosted on Zoom, so it is absolutely COVID-free. Enjoy the program in your home. We're going to be hosting it from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Zoom. Information is on the site. Again, it's CannabisMD.com. We have one of the leading, if not the leading, scientist and researcher in the industry, Dr. Ethan Russo, who's most famous for identifying the entourage effect that I'm sure several of your guests have spoken about, and that's the interplay of the chemical compounds within the plant, the cannabinoids and the terpenes as well as other compounds. Dr. Ethan Russo delivering the keynote. We then go into 3 roundtable discussions that are focused on scientific and research applications of medical cannabis. We then have a roundtable focused on regulatory considerations for both clinicians and scientists, researchers. And then the third roundtable I'm particularly excited about, and I'll be moderating, is the future of medical cannabis, which is the 4 industries wrapped into one that are moving and advancing the industry forward, and that's the legacy cannabis industry, the pharmaceutical industry, technology, and, of course, traditional healthcare.
Thank you, Jackie, and appreciate you calling in today and telling us about that, and actually filling in the gap that's needed in educating the medical field about this. Leah, I got a question for you. How does it feel to have one of your babies out in the world now, right?
I love it. I could go on and on about how proud I am of the students that have graduated, and as I said before, just really they are the pioneers and trailblazers for taking a chance on our program, not knowing what it would be like with nothing else like it out there. To hear that they're doing what they hoped the program would enable them to do is extremely, affirming for me, and I just couldn't be prouder.
That's beautiful. And Leah, we're at the end of the segment here today. So before we go, do you have anything that we didn't ask you about, or some final words you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I would just say that if you have questions about the program, please go on our website and email us at msmcst.umaryland.rx.umaryland.edu with any questions.
Very good, very good. Well, Leah, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks you for building the program. Much luck in the future with you. Stay in touch, and hopefully we'll get some more updates of your graduates as we see them coming out each year.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.